Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. From Connecticut, we have another special guest joining us, Jon Astacio. He's the founder and show host of New Age Human podcast, which is newagehuman.com. Now, Jon is super special. That's Jon, Jon. Jon is super special. He's got an amazing corporate business background, sales, telecom, tech, health, wellness. And it's going to be amazing to watch what he's doing in the years ahead in the space of like podcasts, but also consciousness. He is the Ulysses Odysseus of exploring human consciousness, the human condition, people's spiritual journeys, but also their business journeys, how they're approaching life and how they're approaching the universe. That's really what I'm also getting at. He's been a connoisseur himself. He's still expanding and exploring, and that's where his guests have been incredible. He has around 40 episodes of the show with many more to come. And again, an amazing panoply of guests, all sorts of different backgrounds. So I'd like to welcome, first of all, Jon to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on because you are paying attention. I think that's the number one thing I'm going to say. You're taking notes, you're paying attention, you're engaging a lot of people. You were just at PodFest, and that was more on the exploration on the business end, podcasting, and meeting amazing creative people, creative consciousness, and all the rest. But you're doing something for all of us. You're paying attention as you expand, as you do what you do. And I know you're going to have a bunch of businesses popping out soon in the next 6 months, year, 2 years. And it's going to be fabulous to check back in with you to see where things have gone. Can you talk to us a little bit about the universe? Is the universe, Jon, bigger than we can ever grasp, or bigger than we even suspect or think it is?
It's interesting how we're trying to grasp something that we're still trying to learn. And then when you start thinking of the universe, it's like, what does that mean to you? There's the physical side, there's the energetic side. So ironically, it's not something to grasp, in my opinion. And from what I've seen, it's more something to experience.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So what experience have you had that there's no way you can still explain it when you look back today and you're just like, wow, and it stayed with you?
There's a couple of those. I would say like my experiences started when I would have very vivid dreams, and they continue. I would say at least three a night if I can remember them. And it's so much that I started writing them down. One dream, so my mother actually told me about a dream that she had where it was a precognitive dream. And just to sum up that dream, it was pretty much she was moving from Catholic school to public school, and this was high school. And so again, if you're in high school, you're going to be freaking out because you're changing lifestyles, you're changing your friends, everything's changing. So she had a dream, and she was in a classroom, and with a teacher, and then people that in the dream she recognized, but when she woke up, she's like, who are these people, right? You have this Asian girl to her left, and a Spanish guy in front of her. I'm giving nationalities and backgrounds just so you know specifics. I don't remember the specifics. But months went by, she went to school, almost a year goes by, and then she has deja vu in real life where the teacher looks familiar, and she's like, why does he look familiar? And then she said, wait a minute. She looks to her left, and there's that Asian girl, and she looks behind her, and that's her friend, but it happened exactly the same way. So there's no way to explain that. And then for me, that made my mind just go way out there, and out of curiosity, because I think I was roughly, let's say, 7 years old when I heard about that. And so it made me think, well, the movies that I've been watching, I think there's more truth to that. Science fiction, it could be science fact. And then that triggered me to be more mindful of my dreams. And I had a similar dream where a classmate of mine was walking away from school as I'm walking towards school. And it made me remember it more because it didn't make sense. Why would they be leaving when I'm supposed to be going to school? So it was just odd. And that exact same situation happened within like a week or two of that situation. And it instilled more belief. And from what I understand, what I've seen in personal experience, as your belief grows, it's almost like you're vibing with that possibility, and then you're opening up the doors, and for some people the floodgates for more experiences to happen. There's other experiences where I would get curious of time, right? I saw a movie, I don't know if it's a Disney movie, but Matilda, when she's like really, really smart and she has a very challenging family, let's just say. And the teacher calls on her and she's like, oh no, the teacher, there's that famous scene where the teacher's like, what's this math problem, right? Something like what's 1 + 1? And then they go, everybody's like 2, and then the teacher continues to make it more complex. And then everybody's like, everybody, the teacher thinks there's no one that can figure out this answer. Like, what's 30 times 365, And then Matilda raises her hand really quick and she gives the answer. And then the teacher's like, correct. And then she's like, you know what? And then she gives her that really hard, like, what's the square root of blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, out of nowhere, just spits it out. And the teacher has to grab the calculator because she's like, now you're beyond me. And that made me think and be very cognizant of what's going on. It's almost like it had me start to pay attention to my subconscious, where I would treat it like someone today would treat like ChatGPT or some AI program or a calculator, where you just put in a prompt and you wait for a response. And I started to do that at my job at the time. I was working at a grocery store, and we would go on break, and I don't like continuing to have to look at my watch because we have 15 minutes. I want to enjoy my break. So let's do an exercise. I did it with my best friend at the time. I'm going to be like, okay, we went on break at 7 o'clock. We have to be back at 7:15. So let's play a game. I'm going to pretend like my mind is keeping track of the time. And at randomly, let's say at 7:14, we have 1 minute to get back to work. I'll tell you. And then we just have our conversation. We're talking about whatever we want to do. We're enjoying the present moment. We're hanging out, right? And then all of a sudden, my mind flashes 7:14. I'm like, check your watch. And he goes, oh my God, it's 7:14. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And then we continue to do that until I got it to the seconds.
Mm.
And it would be like, he's like, and he would have fun with it. He's like, okay, so what time is it now? I'm like, okay, it's 6:4. It's about to be 6:45. It's 6:44. And he looks at his watch. He's like, well, it is 6:44. And then we laugh, and then it goes boom, 6:45. I'm like, oh, we're like, oh, so like stuff like that. To name a few.
Yeah. Hey, so paying attention is incredible. And you reminded me immediately of like track, short distance. It'll sound crazy to a lot of audience watching, but if you're running track for a lot of years, you get down to the second or even below that. So that you're running just on a high school track, it's 400 meters, or you're running 200 meters, but you can start to tell by the second when you're going to hit the line and a full loop around the track. So, if you're running, a 105, a 110, a 115, a 117, you're sluggish in the day, 122, but you just know to the second, and 1/3 of the way in on this loop, you're not even, you're 20 seconds in, you're 30 seconds in. It's crazy that way. Also taking naps. I'll have an angel named Joy show up as pink light and sort of wake me up bring me gently out of whatever the deeper sleep is, so that I'm looking at a pink ball of light. I still do the same thing. What am I looking at? The checklist of, am I crazy? What am I? Oh,
Right.
hey, Joy. And then you look, and I've set the iPhone alarms, and it's exactly like 1 minute before the alarms were to go off. So the timing
Yes.
was ideal. So it's crazy what you're talking about. That's absolutely a great way for a person to kind of acclimate to the concept there's something bigger than us. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one more wild story. What's the wildest thing that you're like, I still don't know how to explain it? I know it was important. I had a connection. It was energy. Can you share one of those early on? I know we're just starting out here, but you might
Sure.
have
Yeah.
one more story.
There is one that's coming to mind. I say it's freaky deaky, right? So I was at a place in my life where I was just very stressed, and I was just overthinking everything, and I was told to try to meditate. And I'm like, okay, well, I have no idea. How am I gonna, you know, quiet the mind if it's nonstop. I think about thinking, you know. My thoughts are thinking about, they have their own thoughts. My thoughts have their thoughts. So at the time I did a Google search, and I found out this interesting like program, and it was just written out, and it was step by step on getting yourself out of your head. I'm like, all right, cool. And it was perfect because on top of doing those guided YouTube meditations where they, the breathing meditation, I had now goals, and the first goal was quiet the mind for 5 seconds. Can you do 5 seconds? And it was a struggle. And then I did 5 seconds, and then double that to 10 seconds. So 5, 10, 20. So after I got to a minute, I started feeling different. And then when I got to 5 minutes, 5 minutes plus, I got to a place where I didn't know where my hand started and my foot started. Everything was just one, right? And I can move, but it's not my body. So I'm feeling the energy. It's like if you've ever gone underwater and just try to sit down, relax, and meditate, and people are swimming by because you're at a public pool and you feel the water whooshing by you, I felt the energy of that. So I'm like, okay, so maybe that's just my blood flowing. And so I'm like, what if I can move it willingly? And I would start to mess with the energy like it's water flowing around my face. So I would make it circle my face, and I could feel the pressure of it whooshing clockwise, and then I would make it stop, and then I'll feel it whooshing counterclockwise. So I'm like, there's no way that this is not happening because I'm directing the motion. And then I said, okay, I want all of my energy to move forward. My physical body is going to be right here, and I want most of the energy to pull. And I want to see what happens. Is as I'm doing that, I start leaning forward. And then I was like, what if I do the opposite? Let's say if I physically lean forward and all the energy pulls backwards. I'm sure in the ancient times, martial artists master this. And if you are a fan of anime, I forgot which one it was. It'll come to me. Naruto. They were talking about controlling their energy, and they would hang upside down without grabbing the tree, or sideways to the tree, and they would center their gravity the opposite of the floor, so that they would practically defy gravity. And that's how you jump higher. That's how you tiptoe on branches. And so I'm starting to get an experience that's similar to that on a very, very small level. But that's not the freaky deaky part. It was getting to the freaky deaky part. And for me right now, talking about it, it's freaky deaky. So I started to quiet the mind, and then I started to hear um thoughts, ideas that I wasn't sure were mine. And you quiet the mind, and then you start getting interesting thoughts that are not native to you, and it's not native to you because you don't have a reference to it. And so I kind of let that be. And later on that same day, I was standing in a group of, let's say, 4 people, and you're part of that conversation. Whatever subject matter it was, we're talking about it. And how a conversation usually goes is, one person says something, then the other person says, yeah, me too, and then they give their 2 cents, and then people are just, it's a back and forth thing. And so what would end up happening what would end up happening is, I would listen to person A, and then have a thought of what I would like to say, and then person B would actually express my thoughts. And so I was hearing the conversation happening as a collective in the group.
Wow.
And whether it be visually or in my own voice. So I'm thinking, and now I'm questioning myself, like, am I hearing them, or are they hearing my thoughts, thinking it's their thoughts and pushing it in the conversation? And so I started to think that regardless of what's happening, if I can keep my mindset, my thoughts more positive, more high vibratory, whatever group of conversation I'm in, the conversation would go that direction. if I'm influencing it. And it would go that direction. It would go in a positive direction. If a conversation is going, let's say, lower vibratory, and the someone's frustrated, they're complaining about something, I would do my best to maintain that high vibe as a buffer, as a competing energy, so that it would help maintain the status quo, or the better, um just maintain the conversation in a higher vibe, so like it doesn't get worse, or someone doesn't say something they don't want to regret and make a decision. And it doesn't work always the best, because me, as I am learning about myself, I also understand that I can be more empathetic, or you can call someone an empath, where you absorb other people's energies. And that's been my constant challenge. So it's me working to maintain my energy and know myself versus the other people,
Mm.
energetically and mentally, and have that organization going on. And what ends up happening is, when you do a lot of that work, it's draining, because you're pulling from something, and then someone's using it. So that's one of those things where, like, I had to focus on more of like having a higher vibratory diet, where it's less processed foods and more organic, more less tampered with foods, less cooked foods, and that helps a lot. So that's my story.
And you're sticking to it. I love that
Yeah.
story. And the awareness presence, your own awareness presence going out, and then it like a candle and the flame and the shadows moving, but that's not the best analogy. Your own awareness presence growing, your boundaries. Where are you on learning your boundaries? There's people who are, in our 50s and still learning boundaries. We're all learning boundaries, I think, throughout our life, because we're more energy than we ever realize. Where are you on the whole curve on learning how to keep your energy intact, and yet do compassion, unconditional love, light, whatever you want to call it, positivity, awareness, presence? That transaction can happen through the boundary, but not the negativity that comes with it, so you don't take too much of a hit. Where are you on that curve? And explain to us your approach to that practice, because I have a feeling it's an ever-growing practice. Every viewer should absolutely be more aware about these practices. And I have to do one more tangent. I sent an email to someone a month and a half ago. I love this person, amazing healer. But just by sending an email, I connected, and I got cigarette smoke or pipe smoke in my kitchen. And so I had to sage my house again. And it wasn't intentional. I had nothing. They were having a harder spat for a week. We've all have ebbs and flows. And that goes to hugs. If I get hugs in a library or a bookstore or a supermarket, I've helped someone. It doesn't matter what boundaries I've put on, I got to clear out again. It's like spring cleaning. And so I'm just trying to give examples, extreme examples, that you would have no idea how big the universe is, how much energy transact just by putting your focus on someone. So Jon, share with us a little bit about where you are on that. How do you do housekeeping, energetic housekeeping, to keep yourself fresh, creative, and doing what you really want to do?
Well, I usually take a shower to stay fresh. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
I do that though, just to get the energy to go.
Yeah, yeah. Water is amazing. So a couple of things coming to mind. For that first question you had, where it's kind of like knowing where your boundaries are, and how to navigate that, right? It's a good question, because if you are sensitive to other people, and you are someone that likes to be of service, even if someone doesn't know it, you're going to be trained. So one of the things that I learned was, one, use your mind to see yourself engulfed in light. And I'm sure this is not a secret to a lot of people in the community, where white or golden light is it acts like a cleanser, right? So if you think of a good shape, would be like an egg. If you're in an egg of light surrounding you, or light pouring from the universe through your head, and the visual itself will distract you. But think of like your entire body being filled with light. It's going through your arms, through your fingertips, it's your torso, through your legs, through your toes, and it's kind of like a clearing out, and at the same time energizing, right? And then also you can use that energetically as a block, as a shield. And you can play with it. I like the analogy of like negative energy being dark energy bouncing off. So it's also like a confidence boost, where you're like, you're not touching me, da, da, da. Or just come with that confidence where you're like, this is not going to affect me. And I'm using the energy of the universe through me to heal, right? Instead of my own sourced energy. And that I got that understanding more so through Reiki. And then when you're talking and having a conversation with somebody, right then and there, have an understanding, a decision of how far you want to let this go. What do you want to accomplish for yourself and for that person within the situation of interacting with them, and decide at one point when it's time to go. And then start to, when when you subconsciously say, you know what, it's time to end this interaction, the words will come. The mind will produce that for you if you have the confidence to allow it to move through you, and then you'll go, right. You'll suddenly have a phone call, right. You don't have to pretend to call yourself, or right. It will just happen. And I've seen that happen pretty cool. Or when you call into it, if you're at that really good space, do it early so that you can you're at a high, let's say, magnetism of calling in actions and activities around you to persuade that to happen. And then going into the last part, as far as like keeping yourself at a high vibe and like kind of doing the cleansing, let's say like housekeeping for home. um I'm more of a visual person, so I do a lot of visuals, and then I'm a very sensory smell person. So we burn, if we're having a rough day, we burn sage, and we just do like a little perimeter of the room, of the house. And sage has, from what I understand and what I'm told, has a cleaning property to it. And then also Palo Santo, the wood. Also, make sure wherever you get these things, the Palo Santo, the sage, make sure that it's sourced in a I forgot what you call it, but in a way where it's not just plucked from nature. It's from like an organization that is doing good by the environment. So be mindful of that, because it does carry that energy of how it was obtained. But yeah, the wood, I love the smell of wood because I did Boy Scouts growing up, and it gives me really good memories. And I do feel like if you can do a good job of being consistent, and you can start to associate good um, feelings, good memories with those not sounds, those smells. So try not to only do it when you're having a bad day. Sometimes if you're having a good day, just do it anyway, so that you can maintain that association, that positive association. Then the last thing would be, if you are familiar with sacred geometry and the understanding that a lot of the building blocks of life, like the Merkaba, right, where you have these intersecting pyramids, all these shapes, they have power to them. So use them, put them around your house, have those images, those shapes, like the flower of life on your mug, on your clothes, on your necklaces. They emit a good cleansing, harmonizing energy. And the healthy energy is harmonic. It's geometric. And so when you have more of those objects around you, it helps to undo the things that don't serve you.
I love it. Hey, can you share, John, just a couple items you have positioned around the home, or a word practice you've got a sacred way you invoke or just ask the universe to get in there, or more detailed, it could be your higher self, angels, guides, the whole crew, whichever way you use the words. But can you give an example that others could, if they're still developing their own playbook, that you think would be practical for people to use on a weekly, daily basis, or walking into a big meeting? It's just something around the house. They had a bunch of guests through, and it wasn't the best energy. There was an argument. Anything that's practical and tactical would be great, but also give us some flavor of something, an object around the house that you're very happy it's there. You feel like it's doing its job.
So there's a morning mantra that I adopted, and I want to put it when I wake up in the morning, and you look forward. I want to put it where I first see something. So one thing I like to first, like my personal mission and motto is be the change you seek to see in the world. Like, helps center myself, because if I am expecting someone to do something, remember it's about your impact. And so if you want something to change, why don't you be the change so you can emanate that change and reflect on, let people reflect that. That's one. The other one is the morning mantra I like is every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And you repeat that, I think 20 times, 10 to 20 times, just to like drill it in the head. And that's the first thing you do in the morning. And whenever now I have a grounding mat, an earthing mat, where it's connected to the grounding socket of the outlet, and it helps me keep connected to the ground. So a lot of these electronics that are around me are not affecting me as much. So if you are more sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies, you would really appreciate that stuff. Get some type of grounding mat for you. I'm like touching one right now. And then I have, you can't see it, but next to me I have, let's say it's like about 8 inches tall by 5 inches, no, like 7 inches wide, and it's a Himalayan sea salt lamp. And that's what's, if you can see the reflection, it's like this orangey, like earthy, like sea salt color. And it's from what I understand, it's emitting that grounding, that earth energy in the air, and it's made out of salt. So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna lick it, but it's salt does something amazing to, I mean, like to the energy, to your body. Salt water, think of all the minerals, it's in the air, it's all the good frequencies that are earthbound.
I love it. Hey, I mean, look, you're putting a lot of cards on the table. I appreciate it. That's what a lot of folks do on the show. And you're talking to us about your experience with, what some people call spirituality, others call consciousness, others calls energy, life, universe. Just it's always bigger than we think it is. Do you mind if I refer to just before the show? You caught the scent of sage blown through two screens. We'll do that later on the show. Do you mind just talking about how it's always bigger than we think it is, no matter where we are for learning, or we've appreciated something, or we agree with something, or we've had this happen to us, but for our benefit, whether it's good or bad. It's for our expansion, and how the learning and the expansion never stops. Can you take it from there just a little bit more about, because you're a student of the expansion that we can all experience more of. And I really feel like you're paying more attention to this than most.
I appreciate the kind words. So yeah, right before we did this, you you put the sage up, and you had the feather, right, and you're throwing it through the screen. And when you say there's more to everything, right, it's always bigger than we think. And if you reflect on yourself, think of your it was interesting enough about, like, maybe, yeah, last night, um scrolling through YouTube shorts and the stuff that I follow, the algorithm puts out some very interesting stuff. And one person put it into interesting words where you say, think of humanity as a collective, right? And if you were to use labels, right? Some people have different labels for certain words, but I'm just going to use it in a certain way that I'm familiar with them and what makes sense to me. Where you have the collective conscious, think of humanity as one being, and then the beings become bigger and bigger as you go further out into the universe, right? The solar system can be a being. Our galaxy can be a being, right? And it's crunching itself down into smaller pieces for experience sake, right? And becoming more in a different way. And so we come down to earth, and we're humanity. And then humanity, like the ocean, right? Let's say humanity is the ocean, and you get a cup, and you grab, or a bucket, whatever. You just get a bucket of water. Now you have a bucket with some water in it, and then you give that bucket color. Now let's say it's red, right? So think of I think they put it as the ocean would be the spirit, and then the soul would be the spirit colored for you specifically with that spirit, that soul's journey through multiple lives. Through multiple lives and multiple experiences, it gets colored in those experiences, and so it's becoming something. And then the bucket is the physical body, right? So it's you're a being that's having a human experience. You're a human that is being, right? A being in a human, right? This is just the suit. And so if you start to think of things that way, when I am presented to something that's unconventional to what my to the physical realm, I start to pause myself and think back to the color of the soul, and then the spirit, and then the higher realms. And then I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to get communication with someone else's bucket of water, right? That person's water may be blue. And so the interesting thing is, as you get around each other, you might make purple, right? And
Hmm.
that purple may introduce something new to the universe. And that could be a child, it could be a concept, right? It could be an entity of understanding that is working around us, creating. So there's different levels of stuff that can be going on. And it's almost like, well, if you can think about it, it probably is being manifest in some shape or form, whether it be physically or non-physical, so to speak. So I I'm not sure if that's the direction you wanted to
Oh,
go, but that's how the expansion of what's going on. That's how I start to think of things to try to understand what's going on.
I love it. Hey, so human to human interaction allows for soul to soul connection and more, and a little, magic mix in there or secret sauce. Okay, going back to kind of the mainstream spiritual, the authors, the books, the resources, and so on. We've all grasped or just run to the library or run to the bookstore or asked our friends or gone online and done the search, and we've hit up either movies, documentaries, books. Who have been the authors in the past that served you well, and a few that you maybe keep around or you go to once a month, once a year, for whatever purpose? And then who are the new ones on the horizon that you've enjoyed, or you're like, wow, this is extra food for thought. I wasn't even expecting this. It's not that you stay up late at night with the new authors, but it's food for thought enough that it pops up in the middle of a drive in the Connecticut countryside, and you're like, it's the physics, the scientist side of you, because you're an explorer here, and I know this. I've watched you in action on the shows and everything else that you do. And again, that's New Age Human Podcast, newagehuman.com. We're with Jon Astacio in Connecticut, who has had a lot of beautiful guests on. Check out his show, around 40 episodes or so. But watch what he does in the future. It's going to be a lot of fun to see him in action on many more fronts than just the podcast. Okay, Jon, who's been a good influence on you to date? Who have you been picking up on and that you're like, wow, I really need to check out their material more?
Great question. Great question. I would start with I don't know if it's a film or a documentary. What the bleep do we know? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, Betsy Chass. I can never pronounce names, but Betsy Chass, Chasse.
You probably know better than me because I need to work on remembering the authors. So because I usually have like some link on my phone, it's the crutch of being knowing that you can always grasp the phone and be like, it's this one right here. Yeah, what the bleep do we know? And the quantum physics and the quantum realm really just made it more realistic for myself as someone that wants to understand, wants to throw logic in it when logic is could be very flawed and very limited. It really helped me open my limitations. And so I got first exposure to that in my philosophy class in UConn. And that was an emotional class because some people had their opinions and then their concept of reality was just breaking. And I'm having fun because I think about this stuff all the time, and I'm like posing questions and people are like, no, 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 let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. I'm like, what if God created us to be like him or better? And like, no, we can never be. And I was like, it's just a question, guys. I'm just questioning everything and everybody's just going nuts. So I had fun. But yeah, that's what I got from that, what to believe. And I gotta find that. I want to watch that again. If you're curious, if you want to go into something that's related to that, look up the double slit experiment. The double slit experiment. It's one thing that you can look up on YouTube. It can be very visual and it can make you say, "Wow, what's going on here?" Um, that's one. And then the book, let's see, we have The Secret, that continuing my journey through that. Manifestation, law of attraction, those type of things. The Secret was great. That kind of helped me level up on my understanding and my curiosity. Something that really hit home recently that is it's one of the few books that I actually have bookmarks in and like colored. I'm like, I have to go back to this because every other page was like, whoa, I have to like turn around and just process it, come back to it, and then reread it. It was one of those things where every chapter, every other page was just making me rethink everything. And you can feel your brain just restructuring. And it's called Power versus Force. And I don't remember, that's one of those words. I don't remember the author. I mean, I can look it up, but Power versus Force. And really the concept behind that is you there's two decisions to go by. You can go by way of power, which is more like love and attraction. Yeah. Power would be more heartfelt or heart-centered, and force is more mind-centered. Force is I'm gonna limit your options and force your hand to go this direction, this decision. And I feel it hit me a lot because I'm in that constant battle of wanting to mentally digest it, but then realize that you need a little bit of both the mind and the heart to really understand what's going on, especially if you want to project and explain that to somebody else. And so I see ourselves in a society that's moving from force into power. And then on top of that, right? So like force would be like combustion engine, where you're like forcing something to explode and you're capsulating that so you can move forward. Or a technology from Victor Schauberger, where you're using the flow of and the vortex energy of water to pull you forward.
Mm.
It's the same thing, just by way of power versus force. And so I see a lot of those technologies coming about, and that's why I like to search people and have conversations about solutions around power. And another part of that book, the guy uses kinesthesiology and muscle strength to show that everybody, their body knows um, the highest truth in different levels based off of strength and weakness of the body. And there's different exercises that you can do to question what's in front of you and ask questions of, how truthful, what level of truth is in front of me. And then he broke it down using that method. uh he broke it down to the levels of conscious levels, so from like 0 to 1,000. And what based off of him using the techniques, he said that the United States is at level 200, and 200 is anything 200 and under is more closer to um fear-based, ego-based, energy, vibrancy, right? That's more of like a military. And then once you like the breaking point is that 200 level, and when you go above 200, that's when you start to think more about collectiveness, connected. You're building teams, you're in charge of other people, and you have to think outside of yourself. It's not much of your ego; it's more of a collective. And then when you start to go towards 1,000, 1,000 is where you have the avatars of our past. You have Jesus, you have Buddha, you have people that are walking on water. When you get to 1,000, you no longer you're now at the cusp of the physical and the non-physical plane most of the time, and you see yourself as everybody else. You see everybody else as a reflection of yourself, and you actively are in that day to day, and you move like that. And because you're not self-limiting, you are not limited to the so-called rules of our reality. And so that's when you start seeing people disappear, leaving their handprints in stone, levitation, all these things what we see as magical. It's magical because it's something that you haven't understood yet, right? And so I really like that book. As you could tell, I have a lot of bookmarks, and that's that book where I'm driving and I see things happening. I see connections and synchronicity, if that's a buzzword for you, where you would think that it's just a coincidence, but it's more of a synchronicity, right? And it's happening for a reason. You're paying attention to the signs, and I'm, when I have a conversation with them, this actually ties into the question you had before, which is, how do you guard yourself and kind of identify other people? One of the things I use is if I were to put a percentage up, what percentage do I think this person is on this? Like, is the conversation going towards power, or is it going towards force? And so that's also something where I start to gauge. I'm like, this is starting to go towards a force type of situation. I feel like I'm being sold something or guided to an end result that they want me to go to, versus them giving me the free will and understanding through providing value.
Beautiful. David Hawkins, I had to look it up.
Yes.
And David Hawkins came up in one of the episodes earlier now. These are all tapes, so it'll be this summer that David Hawkins will come up twice now. And what a beautiful thing to touch upon that. Also, you mentioned the double slit experience, and I believe my last show taped, I won't name who, just let the audience figure it out, but that'll also be another double where two references in short order. And so this is beautiful that you touched on this. Thank you for doing that. I love it. Okay, out of all this, if you had to summarize a lot of the documentary, the books, the Hawkins stuff, let's dumb it down for our grandmother, our uncle, a visitor from another country who doesn't speak English so well. What's the takeaway? Maybe 2, 5 little steps or ways just to be like, okay, that's a lot. We know our focus, where we put it, is kind of where we go. We know that the fabric of the universe may be much bigger than we realize. I'll say it's love and be shiny and sparkly about it. And the nature of reality isn't what we think it is. It never will be. It's just not that limited. So give us the future you coming in, your higher self you giving us advice right now of just the 5 quick takeaways, but put your stamp on it. And so somebody just got off the boat from somewhere. They've never heard of spirituality. They didn't even realize they could do anything with their energy. And it might be a little Jedi advice here. Let's do some Star Wars. What's the 5 things that you're percolating on still, and maybe in a future book of yours, maybe part of your own practice as a future healer? What are the 5 things that you love, and the rest of it's you?
Okay, so the first thing that came to mind, which is I imagine myself in the future, I have a long flowing hair, right? I figured it out. Right. If you're watching, I literally have no hair. I cut it all off. So I imagine that person, and yeah, I have a man bun, right? And I got long gray beard. Um, and one thing that I'm saying to myself is sit in silence would be the number one thing. Sit in silence. That was the start of my journey, because if you can quiet yourself, then you can start bringing in things that are beyond you. So one would be sit in silence. Number 2 would be to listen to the silence. Listen to yourself. And then number 3 would be take 1 and 2. Once you sit in silence and then you listen to yourself, start to explore without any um uh objective, right? Without uh an expectation, right? To explore, take action, move. Don't sit still anymore. Move silently as you listen, move forward. Any direction that you move is always forward, it's never backwards. 4 would be fail, fall. If you're going to fall gracefully, tuck and roll, do it with style, right? Like Buzz Lightyear, it's not flying, it's falling with style. Because it's almost like if anybody's flying, it's really falling. And if you want to fly, it's probably the ground falling away from you, right? So that would be 4. And I would say 5 would be take everything that you've learned on that journey and give back. Share your falls, share your rises, your wins, share that quiet space with as many people as you can. All the answers, all the experiences that you obtained, share it, right? Preach it, practice it, share it with as many people as you can. If they don't, just let them experience it. You don't just go for it. Just go for the goal. Share all of it because you're going to learn more from your failures than you are from your wins. And so, ironically, I wish for many failures because those failures, failure is just a word. It's more of like failure is an experience. I wish for many experiences for you.
Lots of flavor. I love this and beautiful answers. Book material down the road. Hey, so I'm watching Ted Lasso last night. I think it's like season 3, episode 7. It's the Amsterdam episode. A lot of fun. Season 3 is crazy. To me, it's the most conscious show. A lot of humor, feel good. I don't know how to explain it. Just a different vibration that I can't even handle. But they're in Amsterdam, and there's a moment where the owner of the soccer team, if you follow football in England, this is the Ted Lasso on Apple comedy show. So the bottom line is the owner of the soccer team falls into the canal in Amsterdam and loses her cell phone, and a houseboat owner fishes her out of the water, makes her a meal, dries her clothes off. And he says something that I have to go back and watch the episode because I'm like, oh my God, that was the most eloquent 7 words I've ever heard. It was the following. A lot of times we think life happens to us. The shark bit my limb off, the BMW exploded, my cousin, this happened, 16 people died over there. And I'm not trying to make fun of any of this illness, death, loss, you got fired. You think stuff happens to you. And he said, life events don't happen to you. And then I forgot the rest of it, but it was something like they offer you an opportunity for your growth, your journey, to take it beyond what you thought, to push your limits, but in a good way. But he said it succinctly. So I'm going back to the episode when we get off later today, and I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to try to package it and put it back into a lot of other stuff. So instructional. And I feel like you just touched on all of that for us. Why don't we do this? I'm going to blow you some sage in a second, but why don't you think of the next direction you want to take the conversation? Because this is therapy for us, you and I, but also for the audience. And you're doing a really good job of circling around the human condition, consciousness. There's endless room for expansion. Don't stop. And I'm going to do the whole sage thing. This is a classic on the show. You did it before the show, so there's no fail on this. It's letting go. So a reminder to the audience just to ditch what ditch the week that you're having, the year that you're having. Forget your name. Take your license, put it aside for a second. Ask yourself, hey, where am I putting my limits? And so if you want, talk to your higher self. If you want to go bigger, universe, angels, guides, ask Gandhi to help you. It's okay. Religious, non-religious figures, unconditional love figures, ask them to get you out of your head into your heart. And then through 2 screens, maybe 4 years in the future, John's loving this part. There's no structure. There's no timeline quite the way you think. So my microphone's over here if I start looking this way, just to do it. So I'm going to light the sage, Juniper Ridge, I think harvested ethically. Sage plants are not hurt in the process. It's at all the Whole Foods. I've used them for years. Very good product. It's on my website, michaelandreford.com. And I'm not sponsored in any way. I should be. I've put in for it. I will put in for it again when I've got a bigger following. Here's the light. And now it's out. The smoke. You can taste it on your mouth. You can breathe it in. John, give us a description of the sage smoke as I blow it from Texas to Connecticut.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know if it's an floater or I thought I saw the smoke kind of raise from the laptop. And part of me is probably saying, your laptop is on fire, John. You should be concerned. No.
So you're getting it. And again, for the audience, just give yourself a break. If you need help for any exercise ever, it could be just tennis court. You want to hit a hole in one that day on the golf course. Ask angels silently. Don't get caught at the supermarket doing this, but angels, get me out of my head, into my heart, make it nice, whatever, fill in the blank. And then amen, rock and roll, thank you. If you're from India, Om Sai Ram, whatever way you roll is important. It's you setting your intent and getting out of your own way up here. John has done a lot of work on this front, and he is a super genius is how I'm going to put it, because he's paying attention. And again, consciousness, the study of man, where mankind is headed, is he's picked a big entree on his plate. And this is why I mentioned the Odyssey or the Iliad, whichever way you want to go, Greek or Roman version of this, and the Aeneas, Odyssey, Ulysses, or the other fellow. And so I wanted just to say a compliment again. paying attention, doing a lot of great work, a lot of interviewing on the New Age Human podcast. Take us somewhere else, or we can have an angel come in and give us a topic in a second. It'll be Joy the Angel. But what else have you been noticing lately? There's always the talk about humanity, expansion and consciousness. I feel like that's as much a trap as it is truth, in terms of we're always expanding, but there's extra Jedi sensing going on now for anybody who wants to start paying attention. How do you describe all this? How are you putting your finger on the pulse of humanity? What do you want to share with us?
Another great question. So I would say we are, and a lot of people talk about this from what I've seen. If you understand cycles of time, you have astrology, you have the cycles of the moons, the stars, the planets, the sun, and usually people end there. But remember, the sun is going somewhere, right? We're following the sun around something, and that something is the bigger galaxy, right? The galactic sun. And so these all have cycles, and it would be more of an influence, more of like a suggestion, a guidance. And where it does look like we are ending one era and moving into another. And usually you have different types of era, different types of cycles that start and begin. And it just so happens that this cycle is all of the cycles all at once. So it's everything everywhere all at once, just closing in and then spitting out something anew that is completely beyond anything that we've ever experienced. And so I see humanity, society, right? It's 2023 at this current recording. You have the masses that are not used to questioning reality, questioning what is, what makes a human, what makes your gender, what makes your belief structure. What are we? We've been living so long in this bubble of surface reality. Our conversations are very surface, and I'm saying just in an overall larger picture of things, and we're going from one phase to another where the energetic, the non-physical realm is bleeding through. And if you ever seen something like, have you ever, let's say, you ever spun water or your coffee with your spoon, and it now makes a nice vortex, and then you're like, you know what, let me spin the other direction, and it gets all messed up, and then finally, eventually it'll start going the direction you forced it to, right? So we're going from one spinning direction to another, and it's all messed up right now. But the cool thing is people are being forced to identify and be exposed to that non-physical realm. And so there's a lot of questions, and people are going to make a decision based off of what they know, and they're going to go for it. And then you're going to see a lot of people that are saying, no, that's wrong. And then you have a lot of people, other people saying, no, that they're perfectly fine. I'm all for them. And then the other person's like, I don't even want anything a part of this. I see something else crazy going on. So there's a lot of ripple effect, a lot of rapids going on with belief structure, and it's one of those things where it's just happening for a reason. People are questioning everything, and they're making decisions based off of the limited understanding that they have, so that they can fail more. This is a huge failing point. This is a huge struggle point, a huge challenging point in humanity. And we're when you see the light, it's like you're going to the other side, and you'll know that you're going the right direction when by how you feel and how much energy you have. And one of the biggest things I'm learning right now is and or relearning, I should say, is you are right the sum total of the 5 closest people to you. Get around 10 people, create multiple clusters of people around you that are vibing with certain aspects of yourself, because we are multiple selves. So it's not just one cluster of people, it's multiple clusters of people. Your techie friends, your non-techie friends, whoever and however you have grown up and what circles you've fallen into, just make sure those are high vibratory circles. And that because it gives you energy, because you're a creator, you create life, right? You don't destroy life. And sometimes we do destroy life, which ends up creating life, which is weird. But at the end of the day, I do see that happening. And so my message would be, don't be discouraged by the rapids of what's naturally occurring. Just focus on what's right for you, finding your tribe, what works for you. And it all cycles back to that quiet space, because no one knows you better than yourself. and you will reflect that around you. So it's like, that's what I see happening. We're in the rapids, baby, where it's, if you've ever gone whitewater rafting, that's the most fun part. So have fun, laugh at people's mistakes, laugh at your mistakes, because it's funny. Someone's going to fall off the boat, and it's okay. And grab them, or find someone that's strong enough to grab them, because it's going to be okay. So that would be my perspective of what's going on.
Jon, incredible, because I mean that was keynote level, and you nailed the ball out of the park. The leather came off the ball, and it landed halfway across the country in a different stadium. But let's do it this way. It's move past the fails or the wins, or the extreme fails and wins these days. Move past seeing the negative and recognize that all of it means increased awareness, no matter how embattled. Pick some political or city topic or this or that. If you move past the whole right or wrong thing, there's a greater understanding, a greater awareness. And it doesn't have to even be attached to words. It can be just the vibrationary aspect, the way you would say it, that goes with it. So that's really cool how you just put that. You also mentioned creator consciousness, or consciousness, creating. And there's a play on words in there, because there's a business aspect to this that I know you have a bigger interest in than you did like a year ago. And thank you for having me on your show. I might have been episode 19 or 30. I was episode 19, I think, in your show back in the day. I should mention that to the audience. Again, that's New Age Human Podcast. He's on all the different platforms, Apple, you name it. So you'll find him just by typing in Jon Astacio. Astacio, and it's newagehuman.com. So super easy to find Jon, Jon. But talk to us a little bit more about where you see this intersecting with business, where you see it intersecting with social media, because again, this is an extension of humanity, and it isn't anywhere near getting settled yet. It's not like one of those industries that's about to fall apart. It's the opposite. It's actually blooming. And I know you have a huge interest in that area. You were just at Podfest. You had a good time. What do you want to share with us on this front?
Thanks for asking. I'm working on flowing with everything, right? And you make it very easy with your process. So I do appreciate you for that. The thoughts, the concepts, the ideas are flowing a lot better. So I will work with that. And I haven't positioned it this way before, so I'm going to go for it. So I've been passionate about where we're going as humanity, right? When you spin that coffee, let's say clockwise, and then also you have to go counterclockwise. Once the dust settles, what does that look like? And I've always been passionate about what it looks like. Are we going to have flying cars? Are we going to be floating? Are we going to live in crystal cities? What's that going to look like? And there is a movie where it's a Tomorrowland. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where they go and if you're familiar with the World Fair, I would love to bring that back. Where what's going to happen in Tomorrowland, right? All this technology, these alternative solutions, and so I always saw myself as being a part of bringing that, finding the people that are going to create that new world, right? Those new solutions, whether it be technology or relationships, wealth, health, all that aspect of it. And so when I started the podcast, I was like, I want to just find the people. I want to network the people with those people, and I want to make friends with them, and I want to see what that picture looks like, because there are people out there that are in, like yourself. You're in the mix. You found your calling, and you are providing a service. You're helping others, whether it be a service, product, or um uh, mentality. And so the bigger picture that I saw was creating some type of, let's say, coaching program for those conscious creators that see themselves creating a business, creating a life, so that they can free themselves from the old world and project themselves into the new world and help other people do the same. Mm. And when I went to a networking event recently, I started to, like becomes like attracts like, and I started attracting people that are, I would say, conscious creators, right? I guess the term would be conscious creator. What is a conscious person? Someone that's awake to the other side of change, right? Awake to how where we have been working with is not serving us anymore, and we're going into a better direction where we're all connected and understanding that. And so I would like to help those conscious creators. Like I had to figure out for myself, where do I fit in this realm? And so like identifying who you are with, creating that silence, um, creating that collective of people that can support you, whether it be ideas, whether it be direction, guidance. And I went through my journey of needing to clean myself, like health wise, so that I can expand my mind, because I was very just clogged up. And as every single time I would try to create something, my health would pull me down because I would forget, and then I would lose confidence because I keep forgetting and I keep losing track. So I feel like I'm going all over, but at the end of the day, it's more of like a conscious creative collective where you have a collection of conscious creators helping each other, and you have a coaching program and you have retreats. And right now, I'm literally in the talks of creating all that, and through synchronicity and good timing, and it does seem like it is being called into existence, and a lot of the relationships that I've built over the years are starting to resurface in service to that, and it's very exciting.
Well, getting back also to what you said like a couple conversations ago, not forcing it, power versus force. And one is just allowing more,
Mm-hmm.
tapping into the stillness that is that invisible suchness, as Buddhists or Tibetan Buddhists would say, or Jedi, just the force from Star Wars works. The universe is, I'm going to just try to espouse here for a second, but the universe is very big. It's here to help us. It's conscious itself, no matter which way you want to label everything. I'm the type that deals with actual physical or non-physical loving figures, Mother Teresa,
Mm-hmm.
religious, non-religious, angels, 100 plus. And so I'm here to help people remember they can get any answer to any question, all languages, all dialects, full on. And hopefully you're writing your answers down. Records, 49 pages, 9 hours.
Wow.
I step away and check in every 2 hours. So it's really personal. I try not to see the topic, give it a fruit name. So it's a code name. I stay out of the topic. I don't know if you're talking health, your business, your kids. What do you want answers on? Just get what you need. Americans love to get their answers. I mean, that's the carrot for all of us. So business people are fantastic. They know who they want to, well, they don't know who they want to call, but a salesperson is going to be like, why wouldn't I want to get 75 names aligned with what I'm selling and make more money? Not to put it that way, but to be more successful, more happy, more passionate, and I'm helping someone else. So it's connecting through consciousness that way. But you get hugs can become healing, and you see full on. So this is the crazy part that, if you're societal, you're having a hard time letting go to all the light, fluffy talk here. You get to see full on when you're ready. You look out your window, for some of us, it's got to be 2 football fields away. And so you get direct seeing. I've got photos of angels, videos now. I've got joy showing up above my head. I've got a YouTube clip that's 4 seconds, got average viewing of 13 seconds. And it just, I think, went out on my other YouTube channel last night. 1,400 views, 5 hours of viewing or something like that, where people have played it more than 3 times, 330% viewership to see white light going above my head. That's joy saying hi. And just to share a little and going on a big tangent here, when it happened, I thought the white light was between me and the screen by my microphone. Had a graduate school, a team of graduate students come in to quiz me, or professors. I would have failed the exam of what I thought happened. And I was deer in headlights December 30th when this happened, 2022. You can see me on tape repeat myself because I know something's happened. I didn't realize it was above me when I saw the video later. And I've had that happen 3 times now, where even when I saw the white light the other day go through the video, I thought it was more of a straight line, and it wasn't. So check out the videos on my YouTube channel. Where I was going with all this is you can see consciousness. We'll go dumb it down. Chakras, auras, light on your fingers. Just see your own energy, be really relaxed, lie in the grass, put your hand against the sky. But it's what Joseph Campbell said in Power of Myth, that everything is energy, everything is consciousness. I think consciousness is energy, or the other way around. The point on this is there's an invisible flow that connects us all. And we're back to the Force in Star Wars. And this is where we're getting the ball. Conversation ball is coming back to you in a second. But where I want to really throw the hand grenade in here is you don't just see your own light or your dog's light or your aura or the Hindu chakras or the Force. You can see the flow between people. So when you're at your favorite concert next time, you're having a beer, you're inside or you're outdoors, take a look at is it bass guitarist, who's usually the most chill. Watch the flow. If they're all getting along, you can see the light on them, but you can see the interacting lights. or chefs in a good kitchen. There, most kitchens fight at a good restaurant, so forget that. But you can see the consciousness flowing, and where it gets crazy is you can ask an angel to make a butterfly off that light, or you can see extra flows of light. So it's something for people to play with. This may be a little ahead of its time. But this is how you would know the person you're interacting with. You're talking about a joint venture. Where are they coming from? Exactly what you talked about before. Your feel sensing. Are they forcing you? It's not a good fit and they're forcing, or it's a good fit and it's a beautiful co-creating, as Esther Hicks would say. And I want to do one last thing to plant a seed here for your next conversation on this topic, to take the ball and roll with it. The Alchemist, Esther Hicks, that are up here, they talk about universal forces are in place to do everything. It's not actually, you don't have to pick up anything and do anything. You set your intent and allow your stillness, your silence, the suchness, the forces to flow through you to get stuff done. Jon, what's your reaction to all that? Because I just put out a lot. And I want you to, if you could, just give us a little more. You're very future focused and you're mankind focused. What was the reaction you had to talking about this? Yeah.
So very visual. I am in conversations with someone that wants to start making videos in the future. And so I always thought of it would be cool to have more content around the visual aspect of what you're saying, where you give the opportunity for someone that doesn't see energy often to see energy and what it would look like. And like it triggered me with my mother in dreams, it could trigger someone else to look for something like that. And another idea would be to help open people up by, like what you do is put them in situations where they're ready to see more. And I like that because we need more of that. And I see that if more people see beyond the veil and more in the non-physical, uh, it's like finding a book and you're obsessed with that book, finding a good series on TV, and now a lot of the worries outside of you and around you start to melt away, and you now have this newfound focus. And I feel like, I wish that for people. I want to provide space for that for more people, because that curiosity will connect you with other people, and it always turns into a very deep conversation, always. And then it's like you're literally physically lighting up when you're having a conversation with somebody because, oh, do you know about this guy? What are your thoughts on what he said? I know, I never thought of that. Oh, that's amazing. And then it just keeps going. And that's why I started the podcast, because I would have these conversations, an hour would go by. I'm like, wow, I would love to just share that conversation with somebody and see what their thoughts are. Give me some feedback on, like, did you get anything from that? Because I had an amazing conversation, and it sparked more sparks, right? Like, be a bird, be a bird, be a fly on the wall, be a bird and fly away. So I see a lot of like visual stuff, and it also reminded me of something where somebody said that there are glasses or a material that can be made into glasses, and it's hard to find and it's very expensive, and I do not think it's available in the United States. But these glasses, apparently you can put them on and you can see the energetic field, and it would be great because now you're bridging the gap for people and you're opening up that space, and you can have fun with it. Imagine if you ran into somebody that is actually really good at manipulating the energy around them, and you put the glasses on and you're like, okay, do this. And then they, whatever. And like, think of energy like water, or just something that you're creating. Okay, create a ball in your hand and then you see it floating. Oh, now turn that into a pyramid that's rotating clockwise. Oh, wow, flip it around. And then, like, imagine kids doing that in the living room.
But that's here and now. I'm going to mention that you can actually, if you're relaxed enough, and this is unfortunately going way out ahead, but if you're relaxed enough, you can see the flows fully without the glasses. And you can do the ball, the pyramid thing I had never thought of, but you can also have angels deliver to you like a lotus flower in your hand. It'll be multicolored, colors beyond our dimension. So you're not going to know what the color exactly is, but it's pretty. And then you're seeing a running horse in your hand made out of, I'll have to say angel light, but universal light.
Yeah.
Suchness light, whatever you want to call it. So that's here and now, but it's still a little ahead of what we're going to allow for. But there's plenty of folks who can just got it. What's next? And they're like,
right.
And you and I are like, wait, whoa. The practical side of us says, pump the brakes. We're still in the 1970s, 1980s. Like, hey, got to worry about the paycheck, the bills. what are we talking about here? Yeah. But hugs become healing. Colorblind people can see colors. Some stuff's written. You've signed up for a unique life path. So you can't have every medical condition lifted off of you, but you can have some of the side effects or the symptoms, or if you're shaking a lot on a certain disease situation,
Mm.
you can have that conversation with angels, and they can tell you what's permitted, what isn't. Again, you signed up for certain waypoints on the giant slalom course, the gates that you've signed up to go through to make your life interesting, colorful, the contrast. We'll do Esther Hicks. Are you ready to do one angel? And then we're going to see if we get a topic, because you're literally someone who has a lot to offer us conversationally, whether you know it or not, at your end. And I know we've been hitting on a lot of good topics, but here's Angel Joy, ambassador communicator who helps people let go for the audience. So if you need any help, just let her do her job. You're stepping out of your head into your heart. Ask angels to get you out of your head into your heart. John, if you want to go ahead and put your hand up to the screen, you might get a feeling on your toes, your palm, your fingers. Feel what you can feel through two screens from a photograph of Joy, who's an actual angel. And if you want to ask for a smell in the room, it could be the traditional medicinal plant, sage, pine, sweetgrass, flowers. It could be cooking. It could be the ocean. And just to put
Oranges.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And feel what you can feel in your person, and then ask for an energy bump as well. If you feel like you've been spending some energy on the conversation here, ask for a whoosh on your back. But go ahead and ask, what's her advice for us all? And hear the most simple reminder from Joy for all of us.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
What'd you get?
Talk about flowers and what I've been learning about with the interaction with flowers, birds, and something called electroculture, where you create antennas for your yard to enhance the growth and health of the garden. And some sciencey science stuff around that, where people did experiments and think of plants reacting to the sounds of birds, and that increases and speeds up their growth. And in a time, you know how like it starts getting warm and spring comes, and you hear the, and you're like, oh, it's coming. But in the dead of winter, it's silent. Well, what if it's quiet, and then you introduce like a control and a variable, and like you have one plant with recorded birds chirping, and then another plant with no birds chirping, all at the same time in the same growth cycle. And always the one with the birds chirping will grow much faster. So there's an energetic sound thing going on with plants. So it's like, know that like nature provides the energy, right? So get outside in the energy, be engulfed in it, appreciate how they all work with each other, and they all have conversations with each other through sound, through light, and that in that realm, so to speak.
And Findhorn in Inverness, Scotland, had that experience, but it was more intentionally set. I think they were in connection with the land, not Native American, indigenous style, more spiritually. So, I mean, I'm going to say a word, it's beyond, I mean, it's more elementals or divas is the word, but they're in connection with the land spiritually, energetically, and they've asked for good crops. So they were having this, what normally is this size type vegetable was like ginormous. And it was such a phenomena that now it's a foundation. Now it's another one of those retreat centers, but it has a long storied history.
Wow.
A lot of healers have passed through their doors. But it's Findhorn, if I've said it correctly, Findhorn in Scotland. But they've been around since, I think, before Esalen, the one in California, and just doing their own thing, and also having to rediscover how to, do good business as a nonprofit and to stay alive in all the different ebbs and flows of humanity and so on. But I had to mention it because that is something that without the science necessarily, they were doing it just directly through intent. And there was some sort of interaction going on that it reminded me of. So, hey, are you experiencing more flowers, more gardening at your end right now? You're growing stuff?
Yeah. Well, my wife is doing. She's more of the green thumb, so to speak. and I enjoy what she does. um, so we started seedlings, and we want to grow again this year and use what we learned last year to grow more tomatoes and peppers in the backyard. And it's a healing process, and it's a grounding process to go out in the morning and tend to your garden and reconnect with nature and show appreciation for just seeing things grow and supporting those plants. It's a very like silencing of the mind type of situation. And to your point, yeah, outside of the science side of things, I also heard if you simply show love and you sing to your plants, they it does the same thing. You're providing the energy. You're providing the vocal right frequency. The if you're in the space of love and appreciation, you will express it just effortlessly through your words, through your sounds. So if you're singing, you'll have more bees because they're extremely sensitive to that stuff. They sense flowers not through smell, but through their frequency. And they've done experiments where it's
Huh.
behind closed walls and there's no way they can find it, and they always find their way home to their hive. So it's a deeper level. Bees are if you want a rabbit hole, look into bees. Look into bees. So
Uh,
that's yeah. So I'm enjoying it. I mean, we're not at the point where we can bring them outside yet. They're still our babies, and we're going to be growing the next set of seedlings now. I think that's more of the vegetable side of things. So it's exciting to just go outside and pluck like a cherry tomato, eat it, and then like know that the time it took for the garden to the plate was instant, and it retained the most amount of energy for you. And then quick side note, I heard if you put your saliva on a seed and then plant that seed and let it grow, your DNA is honed in on that seed because the seed is going to grow according to what is needed in and missing in your DNA. So it'll be more
Whoa.
medicinal, more supportive of you. So that's like you're planting your medicine from your saliva.
Wow. Okay. Now that one we're going to pause, and I'm going to bring another angel in. I got two, and then three Native American chiefs. So just rapid fire, hand up, get a hug separately. So two acts, two balls in the air. A third ball in the air is just ask, hey, what have you got for me silently from Charlotte the angel? And what can you share out loud? If you need to get a private question answered, do it, but get something for us all. Another reminder, maybe. And people can do this at home. They can put their hand out. It doesn't matter if this is 5 years in the future. Time doesn't work the way you think it does. Oh, feel
Yeah,
what
I
you
forgot.
can, yeah, feel what you can feel out there, folks, and don't judge. Just be in your heart. Breathe, exhale like a whale. If any stress or doubt kicks in, ask angels to get you out of your head into your heart. Own it with a rock and roll. Thank you. Amen. Om Sai Ram. And if you need an extra smell to come in just to set the table, ask for a floral smell: wisteria, sweetgrass, honeysuckle, something plant related. What'd you get, John?
Oh, I think I was trying to get everything, but I more so responded to the color blue, um, and wet grass.
Good enough.
um, for me, blue it reminds me of communication, a calming energy, a flowing energy, a presence energy, and really like don't overdo it, don't go too, no, just be in the moment and flow with the situation type of scenario.
Yeah. Okay, next angel. She's light waves of energy and water. Min, like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. Awala is a Polynesian morning glory. Just call her Min. This is my guardian angel. She's a white ball of light on my website, and both her and Charlotte are metallic balls of light on my book, Listening to Angels. So there's no one way about these photos, but you can see the silhouette of an angel, and you can catch an ocean smell. We did this before the show. I'll blow through the microphone if anybody wants to catch an ocean scent in their room or where they're at, if they're watching on a walk. catch it around you, it'll be impossible. There's wind, you're outdoors, but you can have Hawaii come to you 24/7. You just have to ask for it. It's like the universe and everything John's been telling you in the first part of the show. So here it comes, but ask her for an answer on something super simple. Privately get it and share what you want to share. Catch a little energetic movement on your face. Let angels bring it to you. And I'll blow one more time. Breathe, breathe, breathe. No try, Yoda. Do not. There is no try.
You are really good at that.
What'd you get for us?
Well, I'll start with the feeling. So when I go to the ocean, which is not too far from where I am, it's very cool, right? Because you have the wind blowing in. And so both times when you did that, before and after right now, it was cool right here in my uh, I guess the nose to the forehead area was just like very cool. And there's nothing in front of me that would, it's not windy in the
I
office,
check the
right?
thermostat or if the windows are open all the time, if there's movement, and
Yeah.
it never is that.
I would say, I'm trying to remember. I asked him like, so why am I here? And I got a response, and it's like, as I'm asking the question, the response is coming through, right? Um, I think you're here to express joy, right? And to um, go beyond the limitations. I forgot what the actual phrase is, but like express joy as you move beyond those limitations.
And for
You
me, it's always in one ear, out the other. If I don't write it down right away, I got the gist, but then I go so fast beyond words that it's just like, okay, check the box. But if you ask me to regurgitate it, I'm a huge fail on that, which is not a fail. Okay, dull knife, wisdom with some humor, Native American chief, unconditional love, spirit guide. Anybody out there wants to think of this as a long lost uncle, you need help paying your bills, the next job, relationship stuff, health stuff, what to let go of, what to start doing, or what to keep doing. We don't get enough compliments. So to that end, it's coming to me now. John, can you get 2 compliments and share one out loud from Dull Knife, Native American chief, whose wisdom I'll hold with 2 hands to steady him up.
Compliments for
you personally on your
okay.
path. Get a bravo, a pat on the back. And catch a sacred smell in the air. Sweetgrass, juniper, tobacco, flowers.
Okay.
What'd you get?
I was trying to hone in on that tobacco smell. As a kid, I don't know if anybody has gone through this, but the smells of childhood, even if it's toxic, makes you happy. Like I was around gas stations a lot, so myself and my wife like the smell of gas. Like it's like childhood, you know. So that and like tobacco or like cigarettes. Thankfully, I'm not around that anymore, and I mean, my mom doesn't smoke like that anymore. Um, so I was honing in on that. And then at the same time, as far as a compliment, what I got was um doing my best to quiet the mind, right? Listening. And I'm getting let's see, uh a color that is associated to a word or a phrase. So the color would be like a dusty red. Okay. Um, and the compliment is you are warming people.
Mm.
You are warming people up. And then I saw fireworks, little the sparklers, like the fireworks, and the kids running around with the little sparklers. So I saw those, and then the phrase of like you are sparking people, right? You're sparking and igniting that curiosity, that starts the engine. And if you think of like a car, when you start up, it's like and then you go. So I'm helping with that spark. And so people have the engine, they have the vehicle, they just need maybe like if you have like an older car and it's like trying to start up and it's trying to turn and it's like instead of like that those new cars where you just press the button and it just goes. Sometimes if you haven't used your vehicle in a long time, it's going to take some turning of those and some sparks to happen. And I'm doing some of that, which is allowing for more of those sparks to happen so that you can get that engine going and you're gonna move forward. That's what I'm getting from, you know.
Yeah, you're jumpstarting people's consciousness, their
Yeah.
awareness. I love it. And while you were doing that, I was turning to grab a photo of a fairy. I'm bringing Joy's photo back, the angel, and a fairy named Ginger. You mentioned the sparklers. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I had energy, wind moving here where I went through the checklist. I know our air conditioner is not on. My doors, French doors are shut. There's no window open over here. I was like, whoa. Okay, so tangent, but just for 5 seconds. Fairy named Ginger and there's Joy.
Oh,
Let them
Ginger.
bring you sparklers. And by that, I mean, it may be the silver ones, 4th of July, that are only this big. Look up where your ceiling meets your wall and let Joy and Ginger bring you. Leave your mouth open a little bit, breathe, be in your heart, see with all of you, seeing without seeing, the Zen thing. Let them show up as little flecks of light, silver, like fish breaking the surface of the water, or a 4th of July sparkler.
Mm.
Pick one spot to look up. Did you already get it?
Well, I know what you're talking about. Let me
Yeah,
look.
look up and let them do their job, and you'll see a little bit of physical light. Breathe, breathe, breathe. No try. I'll do Yoda's voice again if I need to just give you distraction, bust you wide open. But let them do their job. You'll see a little bit of flicker of light, just like a sparkler. It could be any color. It could be pink, rainbow, silver, combination thereof. And of course, you're going to get a dad joke. Where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where? In the ICU.
I see little sparks. Yeah, it's interesting. It
Cool.
reminds me of like static sparks where they're like teeny, teeny, teeny.
Yep. Okay. Now that was for somebody at home. Just replay this a few times and give yourself a break. Step outside and use the sky, blue sky or nighttime, whatever you're more comfortable with. But the greater the distance, the easier the psyche will allow for the universal transaction to take place because the brain wants to hold on and say, no way, Jose. But you just did it. Okay. Red shirt, gentlest mom in the world, not the manliest description, but he's compassion, compassion, compassion. Just get one thing that we can all look forward to ahead or private. Keep it private, your choice, but make sure you get a great hug. And again, it may be something to share or not share, but you're good either way. And this is Red Shirt, the Native American chief, unconditional love figure. He's a sweetheart, absolutely gentle, and just gives fabulous advice.
Huh. Yeah, the same thing came back. Where if you're a Finding Nemo fan, right? Just keep swimming. So it's that. Just keep going, just keep going. Um, that's what I'm hearing from that guy. And it's funny because it's a fish.
And that's what you got before the show, right, Dory? You got
And I
that
forgot
whole,
about it too. And I think it was the same guy too. So that's interesting. It's just like,
yeah.
and it
That,
it, it goes in line with what the message is. Just keep going. Like I'm just gonna say the same thing. Just keep swimming.
oh, I love it. Hey, so one more figure, but you might get the older photo next. Geronimo, who steals the show. Action, dry wit humor, lightning, 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 action, action, action. Just do it. With him, go ahead and get something for us all, a reminder on what's ahead for the rest of the year.
Okay.
What'd you get?
Um, it's interesting because there's I wonder anybody that's listening, it's like you have this long pause. They're like, what's going on? Um, I it's more of a visual, and it's the the term I'm seeing is I think it's from a song, but it's it's I think it's swag and swerve, where if you're ever been in a rush and let's say you're in downtown New York City, or it's a very busy sidewalk, and you're just ducking in and out of people that might be going the opposite direction as you just keep going. But don't be attached to the whether like a river and those rocks. They're the rapids, right? It makes the beauty of the rapids of a river flowing, right? So just be that movement in and out of everything. There's a lot of obstacles. Just keep going, right? So it does align with the previous message, but it gave a more visual, as I see him. And the thing that came to my mind is that long gun that he has in that image, where it's just like just aggressive, like he can shoot something from a decent distance. So like just go the distance, just zig and zag. Just if you got, make sure that end goal is clear so that you can just zig and zag and swerve.
I love it. Hey, you're going to get an older photo of Geronimo. So in the back of your mind, make sure you've got a topic. Make it a good one for yourself. You don't have to share it out loud, or you can do a two-part and with something shareable for the audience. But I've got to digress for a second. Almost 20 years in New York City. I'm an East Coaster originally. I've only been back like once since 2010. Been loving the wildlife, living in the outskirts of Austin and now San Antonio. But I got to mention, walking on a New York City sidewalk when it's busy, tourists, business people, height of the workday, or throngs of tourists, it's tough. And the more you're psychologically kind of crippled a little bit, let's say you've had a hard, stressful workday, you're almost in tears, or it's just been brutal, then you'll find yourself bobbing and almost banging into every fifth person. And New York is like a blender. It will eat you up and spit you out. And if you're from some peaceful place, or you're having a really peaceful stretch of a couple of years, you can be in for some culture shock on the streets there. But so I've got the most practical tip I've never said on a show. It's not energy per se, but if you set your intent, here is the advice I've given to just a select few over the last decade or two. You never make eye contact. You do that, you're done. You're going to hit the next person and the next person after that. It's going to demoralize you. It'll sink your energy. If you want to walk straight down the street, Fifth Avenue, which is a little wider sidewalk, you want to be able to make everyone else part. And I don't mean this in that forced way. I just mean that in a respectful self-love way for you. You don't want to put up with the zigzag. You want to walk straight. Walk 80% of your pace. Keep your eyes on their forehead or higher. If you get panicked and you start to not own your Jedi skills anymore, slow your pace down to 50% and regain your composure. Your presence will make everyone part who's on their cell phones thinking. It's all thinking people out of like a Matrix movie. And everyone will part for you, and you will learn an incredible skill of presence as you go. But the second you make eye contact, you see the woman in the red dress, or you see the guy with the beard and the pipe, you're done. You're going to hit them. Bam. Or they're going to force you out of the way because your own psyche kicks in and goes, oh my God, it's crash, collision, warning, Will Robinson, danger. So I had to mention that because it is an incredible leap of faith from here to here. And whether it's religious faith, non-religious faith, same letting go. Good luck with this. People who do it have incredible success with it. And they're like, oh my God, it changed my entire New York City walking around experience. But in a way, somehow that relates to everything we're talking about. It's a crazy concept. You're not used to it. You need it. It's like jungle warfare or guerrilla warfare or something crazy. But New York is like that. It's like hand-to-hand combat on the sidewalks, especially in the middle of July. It's blazing hot and you just don't have the patience for it. So there's something to all that. Give it a try. Here's older Geronimo. If you want to do the classic start, stop, keep, one thing to start doing, one thing to stop doing habit-wise, which is a total waste of energy, he'll save you 20% of your energy for the audience. Personally, whoever's watching out there years ahead in the future, or for Jon Astacio, who's kindly with us, New Age Human podcast. And then so it's start, stop, keep. Keep doing is another compliment. Hear from older Geronimo, one start, one stop, one keep, and share what you would like to share from him. And get a blessing or good, what do you call it? Wind in the sails, good fortune ahead. And anyone out there who's got the guts, if you're willing to ask, allow, and receive, go ahead and get good fortune yourself. Feel some momentum. The universe has got your back type feeling when you walk away from this photo and the podcast. He's no nonsense. So he'll tell you, even with a few curse words once in a while, he's like, yeah, nah, duh, you already know the answer. Just do it. Stop wasting this. Stop doing that. Start doing this.
Yeah, I'm
Is
trying
he,
to narrow it down. More of a so it's easier for me to be scattered as someone, I guess you can say a visionary or whatever, where you have lots of ideas and you're like, what do I do? What do I do first? So it's, just I'm getting the message is the message that I'm getting is start focusing on your message and stop trying to please as too much, because then you're straying away from your message, and just keep going. But it's more of like that message, like what are you trying to serve? What focus and stop trying to please too much and start focusing on your message, narrow it down, keep it simple, silly, right? And the answers will come, so to speak.
okay, bonus round, because this is a game show and there's always a lightning round. I'm going to get you Audrey Hepburn's photo, historical photo, angel full on. Beautiful to see her. If anybody's having a really happy time, or it's John later in the afternoon with the wife, you can both see her, hold hands, just do a few basic baby steps of any type. Even just light some sage and smell it. It doesn't matter what the letting go exercise is. Let her show up. Maybe you have to look 20 houses away, 20 yards away, up on the hill, really far away. She's this big, but whatever. She'll show up, wings or without wings, do both. But I'm going to put her photo up. This photo has moved for tons of folks. We all know in society, in real life, there's no way a static photo can wink, smile, nod, shoulder waggle, eyebrow goes up. But John's going to permit that and have his reality shattered briefly and laugh nervously afterwards. But get a bonus for yourself of a book idea. See the cover of your book. At some point, close your eyes even and have her deliver the goods with all the other angels, your cheerleaders helping you out. And there is a book out there at some point, and it's going to be fascinating to watch you deliver the goods to us. So it's What the Bleep Do We Know, but in book form and more, and much more advanced now beyond. I mean, I know Joe Dispenza was in it. I know it was scientific, but wait 10 years and it's almost like all those other folks have brought us the concept of awareness. And now it's much more Grogu, Mandalorian, Star Wars. Mankind is just going to expand beyond the bounds that we know. Here is Audrey Hepburn. Let her do her job and wink, smile, nod. Have her bring a floral smell, cooking smell, perfume that is yet to be invented from Paris, or your mom's cooking. If anybody has a pastor of a relative, let it be that. John, meanwhile, is diving into more and will share something with us. But when he's ready, and I can't see him, so I'm going to poke my head out in a second, close your eyes and get a good gift of future projects that'll be very fun for you. It's already part of your story. You're just going to allow it to come in and unfold faster or more productively or more. I won't try to use an adjective or an adverb. And I'll pull the photo back because he's got his eyes closed. He's doing his thing. And for everybody out there, I will give the worst dad joke I've ever told, but don't judge me. But if you laugh, you're letting go. And that is the epitome of skill, is letting go. It's just, what is the only flower found on the human face? John already heard this before the show, I think. Tulips. Tulips. Okay, John, what do you have for us? And did you see the photo move by any chance for half a second?
No, I wasn't staring at the photo. I wasn't staring at the photo like that.
And by the way, the great chance to meet ego here. The brain will say, I didn't just see that eyebrow go up, the wink, the smile, the nose, like Bewitched, the old TV show from the 70s. The nose will even twitch, or the shoulders, the hands can move. But the brain says, I didn't just see that. The heart says, oh my God, what a pretty smile she just did for me in the photo. And what a dichotomy. Is it the duality, they say? The contrast here. And there you get an introduction of thinking versus awareness, or brain versus heart, or limits versus no limits.
I'm getting like a little bit of movement. I mean, like I see like the corner of the mouth and a little bit of the eye, like just kind of like when you're staring at somebody, they can't stay still, so they're just kind of moving around.
I love it. Okay, final thought with the Audrey stuff, because you were going to share something, and then we'll we'll wrap it up, and make sure you also tell us a little bit of anything else on any direction that you wanted to tell us. But okay, with Audrey, what'd you get?
You mentioned a book, so I was like, all right, so if it's a book, what would be the title? And the first thing that popped in almost immediately was Make It Real. I don't know what that I don't know what direction that goes in. Um, and then I think it the subtitle would be like a collection of conscious creators.
Ooh.
So I saw that.
Hey, don't forget, there's always that pattern of you grab a chapter from different
Mm,
people, and you do one or two chapters at the end. That's such a great formula, and then you don't have to write as much.
right.
But you get
Smart
a
way to
pretty
go about
book
it.
cover and lots of sales, hopefully. So I love that. Okay, John, take us in a final direction. You've done wonderfully on the show. I know everyone's appreciating this, and thanks for putting yourself out there for us
Thanks.
as an example of letting go and being the new age human.
There you go, tying it in with the title. I mean, direction as in where do we go from here type of thing. A good
Yeah, or where
closing.
do you see yourself headed more, or just, one last topic for all of us, or just a reminder to keep it simple and that your daily living practice is already in front of you, like that whole squeezing the sponge or whatever we're trying to say here. But you've got those words, you've done it the whole show. What's a final kind of parting, not thought, but vibe? How about that?
There you go. Um, what comes to mind is emptying the mind, right? Keep
Yes.
keeping that space for yourself, right? We've been challenged, if you grew up through the public schooling system, it's uh it's a grade that you're going after. It's you have to be correct, and um a constant barrage and crowd of conversations. And a really great skill is to quiet that mind again and simplify it, because a lot of the times we don't know who we are, right? You associate with what you see, and you want to bring yourself out there, you want to shine. Well, first find out what's going to shine, right? What's your color? What's your light? What's your message? And the best way to do that is, revert back. If you get lost, find your quiet place, and nature has that harmonic energy to it that is going to rebalance you into that harmonic song. If you ever heard a song that was out of tune, or piano or guitar, and it just hurts to hear it, and you're just like bothered by it, well, think of that as your mind being scattered, your energy being scattered. There's been times where I'm literally shaking, like there's a pulse, weird energetic pulse happening, and you'll notice it once you start to get used to, I'm talking about the newbies, the people that have been around this. They're like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have my stuff. But for those that are getting that spark, and you're like, I'm not moving, but I'm moving, you need to be I don't want to say you need to, but I would suggest get back into sync, so that you know your thoughts and your physical and energetic selves are reconnected, so that you can be that bridge for both ends as you create your magic. So it's that silence, it's that energetic oneness, it's that collecting all of yourselves that might have been scattered and helping others, pull that back in, become your one true self, so that you can create a brighter life for yourself and others.
Great. I like it. Hey, you reminded me of the Zen book. Not that it has to be in any one direction, any religion, any philosophy, any country, any practice, any ashram, Machu Picchu, whatever, or just a Mega Institute or Esalen or whoever, 1440, or any instructor, because it's all within in one sense. John will tell you that any day of the week. But here's a book called Don't Know Mind, Richard Schrobe, I think it is. And I think it's Korean Zen. But what is great about this book is it literally, and that's just one book cover. I've got a different version on my shelf. If anyone's ever wondered about all those koans, all those stories of the Zen student asking the master a question and the back and forth, and it breaks your brain. And the whole point of it is, it's to determine, are you up here or are you down here? So it's actually brilliant. But that book does a lot of explaining and a lot of shortcutting for those who like stuff explained to them. So I had to mention it because the don't know mind being the empty vessel, are you full? Are you carrying stuff around that, it's the story of the Buddhist monks walking along, and they come across the stream, and there's a woman on the other side, and one of them throws the cloak down, breaking all tradition for you're not supposed to help the woman across the stream stay clean. So he carries her on her back, lets her go. He gets muddied and he breaks all tradition. So the other one's all worried about what he did. He broke taboo, and and he's talking about it kilometers later. And the master is like, I let it go back at the stream when I put her down. Why are you still carrying it around? Which is all of us on day-to-day activities. I hold on to stuff from last summer still. It's my lesson, to let go, lighten up. The good news is I'm a blank most of the time on everything. I forget everything. So that's actually, I got to write everything down. I'm just such a blank, but it helps me on the spiritual front because it actually keeps me centered. So it's a huge strength. It's a huge weakness. It is what it is. That's me. It's like being Winnie the Pooh. It's not a good thing all the time. But that book has helped me tremendously. If you like to try to crack the code on the Zen stuff, it's a great shortcut because it does a lot of explaining. If you're the type that I have to have everything explained to me, not once, but probably 1,000 times before it finally absorbs in. I had to watch Peaceful Warrior, the movie, I'm going to say 50 to 60 times before I'm like, oh, and the deleted scenes. And then I'm like noticing stuff every time, which tells you how one knot above stall speed I am if I'm still picking up on the material, 50 times later. I would argue, though, that the universe, there's a lot of products out there, that movie Peaceful Warrior, this book, that keeps changing a little, and your consciousness is getting peaked. And so the little gems, those golden nuggets, will pop out. It's why What the Bleep Do You Know? Probably go back to that and you pick up on stuff that you were just ready for. The time was right. You were ripe, as they say in Zen, for the next lesson.
Yep.
So, exactly. John, I have to thank you for being on. You have entertained us big time, and I mean that in a complimentary way. You've taken us in a bunch of directions. I think people felt your energy. So if you want, remind us, give us your own plug on where people can find you. I think we've done a good job mentioning it, but go ahead and do it in your own words. One last way for, what you do, where people can find you, and why should people reach out, or should they just watch the show right now?
Well, everybody is well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and, share my energy and my vibe and my existence with your audience. So I do appreciate that. And yeah, you've mentioned it a couple of times, so I'm like, oh, cool, multiple times. That's great. I appreciate it a lot. Well, I would say, newagehuman.com is the easiest, and then you'll find everything from there. The podcasts are 30 to 40 minutes long. I would say, my, elevator pitch, or when someone asks me, oh, so what's the show about? I say it's unlocking human potential, discovering hidden truths so that we can thrive in the new age or in the new world, right? So connecting you to those who have been connected to source and have a experience that they would like to share that's helping people. I would like to spark that energetic spark that gets people's curiosity going. So I do feel like the show is talking to people on the cusp of finding out that there's more to life than the physical plane, and hearing stories in the background. When they see the show or listen to the show, you're getting stories of actual accounts from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So it's making it more believable, and that's why I see it going from waking up, so to speak, and making that unreal world more fantasy world instead of science fiction, science fact, and then helping people if they're on the cusp of their gift, their value. They know that there's people that are coming together in the near future, or by the time of this airing, it's already set up, and you'll see it on newagehuman.com. A collective amount of people that are helping conscious creators maintain that spark and turn it into something where you can give back to humanity, so we can coast through this chaos that we're in and onto the other side. And some people say we're not in chaos. It's a perspective thing. So wherever you feel like you are, some people are already on the other side. So that's what I would like to say. newagehuman.com. It's a podcast. It's also a show on YouTube. And those and yeah, so I'll keep it simple like that. Yeah.
Hey, that was great. And remember, if anyone's seen the show Hot Ones, the hot sauce, they'll have Shaq on there. chicken wings galore, but oh my God, from scale, like Richter scale of earthquakes, but the easiest hot sauce in the world, but within 3, you're dying. By
Yeah.
the 10th, you're, they give you glasses of milk, whiskey, beer, whatever you need. But the actors, I mean, famous actors, famous celebrities have started crying like babies. And so you earn time though at the end to pitch any cause,
Hmm.
charity, your book, your movie. And so, Jon, you've done that. You met 4 angels, 3 Native American chiefs, and Ginger the Faerie, and you sailed through it like a champ. So I don't think you've got stinging in your mouth, and you're not going to burns like hot ones. This is a lot easier. We'll call it cool ones because you were super cool. They were cool. You even felt some coolness from the ocean on your face. So I have to thank you again for being a guest on Angels, Positivity, and Love. We'd love to see you back in the future. And thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I had fun.
Awesome.